It all starts in a bizarre setting, with crows flying in a sky covered in smoke and ruin. One of the crows fiercely pecks at a piece of meat tossed on the ground. It looks pretty grim, as the bird lifts what appears to be a human eye in its beak. Soon the scene reveals a dining room infested with fallen bodies and birds feasting on the remains. In the middle of this chaos, someone steps barefoot right into a puddle of red. The MC tenses up and wonders what is wrong with himself. Lifting his head, he observes all that devastated scene around him. Standing in the middle of the ruined street, he tries to figure out if he was the one who caused all that. Completely distressed, he questions why things have reached this point. Suddenly, a monstrous creature with giant wings appears right behind him. Frozen in place, the boy is terribly startled by the sudden presence. With that, he wakes up gasping for air in a white, isolated room. Touching the collar on his neck, the boy realizes he had the same nightmare again. At that moment, the sound system announces that the instructor has come to visit the designated Asura. Still dizzy, he receives the order to prepare for an immediate interrogation. The door opens, revealing the instructor, who immediately asks if the boy is already awake. Walking past him, the man warns that they usually eliminate potential threats directly. But he guarantees to be more tolerant and asks for cooperation to avoid bigger problems. Confused, the youth repeats the word superpower said by the man. He confronts the instructor about being locked up there under the excuse of being too dangerous. However, the man guarantees that the assessment is right and that he could even destroy the world. Sitting comfortably, the instructor reveals having investigated the boy's old orphanage. The caretakers reported that he used to wrap himself in toilet paper to isolate himself. Besides that, the boy was always sneaking off to the computer room in order to play games. Staring at the prisoner, the man wants to confirm if those stories are real. Walking around the room, the instructor claims this is the reason for the visit and asks if he wants to know more. Tired, the MC demands to be let go so he can listen to the explanations. The man ignores the request and reveals that his power is reality manipulation linked to games. Apparently, this ability would create a level system to guide the user. Annoyed by the attitude, the boy asks if the instructor is a robot to be talking to himself so mechanically. Sighing, the instructor notices the rebellion, ends the conversation, and tells him to get some rest. As soon as the man turns his back to leave, the boy asks him to wait. Upset, he states he is fully aware of the situation after one whole month trapped there. Leaning against the glass wall, the youth demands to know exactly when he will be able to leave. The instructor stops for a moment and says that if he is a good boy, he might have a chance. Leaving the cell for good, the man warns that freedom will only come when he grows up. With that, the prisoner deduces he will probably never leave that lab in one piece. Consumed by anger, he throws a fierce punch against the isolation wall. With the impact, the glass begins to crack under his fist. The structure shatters and a glowing screen appears welcoming player 1. Completely shocked, he sees the surrounding environment break apart like digital shards. Floating in a technological void, the boy tries to figure out where he ended up. He then remembers what the instructor said about the ability manifesting as a game. Stepping on the virtual floor, he finally realizes that this is his superpower in action. A massive glowing interface loads around him, starting the Infinite Division game. The system announces that the character creation phase has just begun. The first model appears on the screen, a young man named Guinea with rank D attributes. The introduction explains he is a local student who awakened dark abilities. According to his backstory, he found out that his own family has been hiding disturbing secrets for years. Next, a second character named Andre appears showing off different powers. The screen requires the MC to choose one of the two identities to enter the real world. Without wasting much time, the boy makes his final decision. Choosing the Asper Guinea, the system tells him to define the character's moral path. He selects the neutral option, and the game begins to materialize his existence into reality. The MC notices that the game's location is the same one he was taken from. With that, he plans to use the new body to investigate the organization that locked him up. The gray path was chosen exactly to make it easier to navigate between good and bad. The interface starts a countdown for a direct landing into the city. Feeling a sudden flash of light, he wakes up at a desk shielding his face from the sun. The setting reveals a noisy classroom with students celebrating summer break. Still a bit disoriented, he observes the school environment around him. Suddenly, the boy pushes his chair back and stands up in the middle of the room. Walking to the window, he tries to process where exactly he ended up. Looking at the courtyard below, he is shocked to realize he is in the outside world. The view of the sunny city confirms he finally managed to escape that lab. Leaning on the window, he takes a deep breath, relieved that everything worked out. But the scare comes when someone taps his shoulder completely unexpectedly. His classmate Li Qingping invites Gu Wenyu to drop by his place later. In that instant, the system warns about a massive memory download into the boy. His mind is flooded by an intense rush of painful information about his new life. Seeing his friend suddenly struggling, the classmate asks in concern if everything is okay. Already recovering, he holds his head as the download is completed by the system. Trying to play it off, he makes up an excuse that he slept too much and promises to show up at Li Qingping's house. Grabbing his backpack strap, he gets ready to leave right away. The MC leaves the room while his friend cheerfully reminds him that summer break has just begun. Confused by the rush, Li Qingping yells out asking where his friend is going. However, the boy just ignores the call and runs down the stairs. Pushing the access door, Gu Wenyu reaches the rooftop and drops his backpack on the ground. Taking wide steps, he celebrates the fact that he finally got out and feels that everything around him is real. Moreover, the boy immediately recognizes the place where he ended up. Looking at the scenery, he confirms he is in Lijiang and is amazed at having forced his way into this world. Soon, he reflects on the butterfly effect and how this direct alteration of reality borders on the absurd. Sighing deeply, the MC tries to process all the madness of the situation. With that, he understands his original body would never leave the lab if they found out about this ability. Stepping on the edge of the building, the youth recalls the memories about the power of this new body. Without hesitating, Gu Wenyu throws himself backward straight into the void. During the fall, a strange dark substance begins to emanate from his hand. At that moment, the boy activates his ability at full force. A burst of black energy tears through the air, forming dark binding straps. Completely engulfed by darkness, he plummets while the power takes shape. Analyzing the energy, the youth watches the straps mold perfectly to his arms. Suddenly, the dark mass is shot upwards with immense force. Grabbing onto the buildings, he uses the darkness to swing through the air at high speed. Thus, the MC crosses the skies of the metropolis, jumping between buildings. Passing by quickly, the black blur catches the attention of the people walking below. Startled, a man on the street points his phone, thinking he just saw a flying saucer. Meanwhile, Gu Wenyu laughs and finds the feeling of using that ability amazing. To him, the power feels like a perfect mix of a certain web slinger and a symbiote. With that, the boy lands with a heavy impact on a metallic structure. Staring at the worn-out facade, he instantly recognizes the Lijiang orphanage. Standing at the top, the youth cannot believe he finally returned to that place. Bringing back old memories, he remembers when he used to look out the attic window without ever being able to leave. Consumed by nostalgia, the MC just stands there observing his old captivity in silence. By late afternoon, he arrives at the residential complex and faces the home of his new identity. According to the background, the family seems normal, but the boy admits he has never lived with relatives before. The mother of this new life passed away in an accident 5 years ago caused by an organization of superpowered people. Since then, the father fell into a deep slump and vanished from home without a trace. Turning the doorknob, he figures he will only have to deal with the older brother and the youngest sister. However, upon slightly opening the door, the boy notices something very strange in the room. Right next to his hand, a floating system settings icon appears out of nowhere. Pushing the door all the way open, the MC reveals a screen full of glowing options in front of him. Analyzing the available tabs, the youth focuses his attention directly on the quest section. At that moment, a familiar voice coming from the hallway announces that it was waiting for him. Completely shocked, the boy sees the system generate quests to uncover the secrets of his own family. The main quest tells him to investigate his older brother, Gu Kie, who appears holding a knife covered in a red mess. Calling the youngest to come inside, the relative casually comments on the time of his arrival. The guy mentions that dinner is already ready and tells him to eat before it gets cold. Unable to move, the MC just stares at the stained blade in his brother's hand. Completely tense, he asks if the man was really just cooking while looking that scary. Already sitting at the feast-filled table, Gu Wenyu tries to play it cool while Gu Kie asks about their little sister. Eating hurriedly, the boy makes up that the girl is sleeping over at a friend's house, having no idea what she is hiding. Satisfied with the answer, the older brother says he is tired and goes to his room to rest. As soon as he is left alone in the living room, the system's skill tree loads on the MC's interface. The glowing screen displays the current development progress of each power branch. Analyzing the available options, he evaluates the upgrades focused on his binding straps. Having one skill point left over, the youth decides that a secret investigation technique would be perfect. Suddenly, his attention is stolen by a breaking news report on the TV. The broadcast shows a hero named Blue Bow who just stopped a crime downtown. Staring seriously at the screen, the boy absorbs every detail of the live broadcast. The reporter praises the armored hero as a prominent figure in the local superpowered association. Seeing the high-tech suit, the MC suspects that this same organization locked him up in the lab. Determined to investigate, he rests his hand firmly on the surface of the table. Spending his single point, the boy unlocks his ability senses and unleashes the dark aura. Immediately, a ghostly eye appears, allowing him to mentally map every detail of the environment. With just a thought, his mystical vision pierces through the walls straight into the room above. The system notifies that the quest rewards have been delivered, granting new attribute points. Reading the floating description, the youth discovers he can use this resource to create a brand new character. This means that, in the future, the MC will be able to control multiple avatars simultaneously around the world. Using his new special vision, the boy hears a radio voice reporting a criminal attack. Immediately, he realizes that the sound of the communicator is coming right from Gukea's room. Peeking through the floor, the ability reveals his older brother sitting at the desk complaining about being summoned again. Bandaging an injury on his arm, the guy grumbles indignantly about having barely gotten home banged up. The radio warns that the villain demanded his presence and is taking hostages, making his brother absolutely furious. Without wasting time, the relative rips off his stained shirt in one swift motion. Right after, intense beams of blue energy start coursing through his entire body. The electricity materializes a high-tech armor, revealing the guy's true identity. Peeking from below, the MC finds it funny to discover that his brother is the famous hero from TV. The communicator rushes the agent, warning about the threat to the captured civilians in the plaza. Already fully suited up, Gukea agrees and gets ready to prevent a public tragedy on the media. Asking his team to buy some time, the hero vanishes from the room wrapped in a dazzling ray of light. Arriving at the scene in the blink of an eye, the hero Blue Bow lands at the crime scene surrounded by lightning. Hiding nearby, Gu Wenyu is impressed by his brother's speed even while injured. With that, the system updates the quest demanding that he form a cooperative relationship with the Hero Association. Sighing tiredly, the MC thinks it is a headache that the game is forcing him into the middle of this mess. Down in the plaza, the police lament the terrible situation of the hostages and hope for the hero's quick arrival. In the middle of the isolated area, a terrified child cries while being hugged by his mother. Several armed henchmen keep their sights aimed directly at the captured civilians. Hovering in the air, the villain Green Wings loses his patience and threatens to eliminate the first hostage in 10 seconds. Showing off his sharp teeth, the monster starts the countdown out loud. While he flies over the steel structure, the numbers keep going down without stopping. With only 2 seconds left, Blue Bow jumps with everything he has toward the enemy. Sarcastic, the villain mocks the arrival of Lighting's big star. Facing the threat, the hero calls the speech cliché and demands to know what he wants right away. The monster tells his rival to surrender and accompany him immediately in exchange for the hostages' lives. Refusing the offer, the agent states he prefers to save everyone first and arrest the bad guy right after. However, Green Wings reveals having planted traps on the civilians that can be triggered by infiltrated henchmen. Confident, the monster doubts the hero has the guts to risk those people's lives. Frustrated, Gukei knows he could easily disarm the explosives if he were not so injured. Suddenly, one of the hostages begs desperately for the savior not to surrender. Annoyed by the interruption, the criminal tells the woman to shut her mouth immediately. The hostage shrinks back terrified by the monster's yell. Having no patience for delays, the villain orders his subordinates to shoot and detonate everything. Desperate, Blue Bow reaches out trying to stop the imminent disaster. Down below, one of the shooters is confused when he notices his partners are not following the order. At the same instant, a rifle slips from a henchman's hands and falls to the ground. The bad guy realizes the other shooters are being lifted by a mysterious force. Up high, Green Wings notices the strange movement and does not understand anything. Several dark energy straps grab the criminals and suspend them in the air while they scream. Pinned to the ground, the hostages watch the scene unable to believe what is happening. Manipulating the darkness, Gu Wenyu appears at the top of the structure controlling all the henchmen at once. Now wearing a stylized mask, the MC gives off a scary look in the middle of the darkness. Confused by the interference, the monster asks if the rookie works with the hero but gets a negative answer. Furious, Green Wings tells the intruder to back off under the threat of blowing up the hostages. Standing calmly, the boy activates his system focused on becoming a social star. Reading a relationship book, he admits the quest seems difficult but decides to try anyway. Ignoring the warning, he hears the villain yell that he is going to wipe out half the plaza with the explosions. Focused on the reading, Gu Wenyu discovers that the first step to building rapport is acting like the other person. Getting into character, he tells the criminal to calm down and just detonate the explosives if he has the guts. Putting the material away, the youth mocks his opponent's intelligence without a single drop of fear. With a dark posture, he reminds him that the end of the civilians would ruin the only advantage the monster has. Hearing the provocation, the villain grinds his teeth, consumed by anger. Cornered, Green Wings threatens to take the boy out if he does not release the henchman immediately. Consulting the book again, the MC decides to satisfy the other party's request and snaps his fingers. At that same instant, one of the black straps violently squeezes a shooter's neck. The bad guy lets out a deafening cry of pain while being crushed by the dark magic. Witnessing the grim scene, Green Wings goes into total shock. The dark energy brutally takes down the henchman, leaving a terrifying mess. Showing no emotion, the boy asks if he did not do exactly what was asked. Holding the defeated henchman with his tentacles, the MC questions the reason for the villain's dissatisfaction. Right below, the lifeless body of the shooter drops heavily to the ground. Paralyzed, Blue Bow watches the summary execution, completely horrified. Trembling with hatred, the monster curses the boy with all his might. Seeing the enemy retreat through the air, Gu Wenyu deduces he ended up ruining the socialization attempt. Giving up on the bad guys, he concludes it will be much easier to make friends with someone on the side of justice. With that, the darkness starts sliding dangerously toward the cowering hostages. The child's mother widens her eyes, feeling the dread take over. In a bizarre way, the defeated villain's remains are positioned around the civilians. The boy suggests the victims use the remnants to get back at the weapons that were pointed at them. However, the eerie attitude makes the woman hug her son and scream desperately in panic. Surprised by the reaction, the MC receives a system warning demanding more peaceful methods. Sweating cold, he realizes the difficulty of the task and decides to patch up the mess he just caused. Controlling the black aura, the youth reattaches the pieces back onto the fallen shooters. Satisfied with his own work, he guarantees it looks like the bad guys never suffered a scratch. Still hugging each other, the hostages stare at that insanity, completely perplexed. The game alert beeps again, showing that the boy's morality is sinking deeper and deeper. Trying to play it off, he makes up a story to the woman that all that carnage was just a holographic special effect. However, the head of one of the henchmen slowly slips off the patched-up body. A fountain of red splashes from the open neck right in front of the innocent people. The child's mother completely loses her sanity, witnessing the terror up close. Slapping his own forehead, the boy hears the screaming while the system threatens to penalize him for acting like a monster. Laughing nervously, he tries to justify the accident and admits that interacting with people is exhausting. Suddenly, blue sparks light up the environment, revealing an imminent attack. Landing violently right behind the MC, Blue Bow demands to know the identity of the attacker. With a sharp look, Gu Wenyu claims to be just someone neutral who refuses hero or villain labels. Directing the dark magic toward his brother, he promises the two will still be great friends in the future. Accusing the boy directly, Blue Bow states he was the one who eliminated those criminals. Turning his face, Gu Wenyu questions if the hero would be happy if the hostages had lost their lives instead. The agent fires back that taking a life requires legal punishment, but the MC finds that boring and doubts it is his real opinion away from the cameras. Releasing his dark energy, the youth proposes they have a private conversation. Firing the magic against the ground, he warns he wants to hear the hero's true thoughts. A black portal opens, swallowing the MC, while his brother just watches the escape from afar. Without wasting time, the agent charges an intense blue electricity in his hands. Arriving at the exact spot of the disappearance, Blue Bow hears the boy's voice warning that the decision to meet has already been made. Entering another portal at the top of the building, Gu Wenyu warns that the next step depends entirely on the hero. Walking across the rooftop, the agent stares at the dark mark left on the wall. He then analyzes a small fragment of the dark energy he managed to capture in his hands. In a few seconds, the mysterious black smoke simply dissipates in the air. Staring at the sky, the hero hears the monster yell furiously for being completely ignored all that time. Keeping his cool, the agent suggests the villain surrender now that the explosives and henchmen have been neutralized. Completely surprised, Green Wings discovers the Hero Association has already surrounded the area and there are no more escape routes. Stepping firmly on the parapet, the villain still tries to use the hostages as bargaining chips. Apparently, he didn't realize the victims are already safe under the authorities' protection. Staring at the monster, Blue Bow tells him to take a good look at the situation down below. The criminal finally notices he completely lost his only advantage. Taken over by hatred, he curses the situation, realizing his plan was a total failure. Just 1 minute after the capture, the hero is already running at high speed through the city. Using his lightning to gain momentum, he agilely jumps over the stone walls. Stopping at the tracked location, the agent demands the fugitive come out of his hiding spot. Hanging upside down from a tree, Gu Wenyu guarantees he already expected to be followed. Wrapped by his dark straps, the boy calmly greets Legend's famous hero. Straight to the point, the brother questions what is the true origin of that mysterious rookie. Touching the ground, the youth explains he does not have a codename yet, but knows the public will soon make one up for him. Holding a magical document, the MC asks if the agent doesn't want to know what he has in his hands. The newspaper reveals an old article about a father who sued the government after his wife was taken out by a hero from the association. Showing a sharp look, the boy calls the hero by his real name, Guke. Completely in shock, Blue Bow listens to the youth recall the traumatic moment his own mother passed away. Turning his back, Gu Wenyu narrates how this tragedy generated a deep resentment against superpowered folks in the guy's heart. Materializing the violent scene, he deduces the hero only joined the association seeking power and political influence. Squeezing his virtual fingers, the youth states his brother's only goal is to hunt down their mother's attacker. Clenching his fist tightly, the agent calls all that deduction pure nonsense. Ignoring the denial, the MC proposes an alliance to help him climb the ranks and find the culprit. With an enigmatic tone, he promises that together they will achieve a grand payback against the one responsible. Raising his finger, the boy warns that in return he only needs a small and insignificant favor. Suspicious of that tempting offer, Gu Kia asks what the price of this help would be. Walking toward the portal, the rookie prefers to keep it a secret to avoid disasters and asks the hero to look out for him around the city. Using his electric speed, the agent charges forward, demanding to know how the stranger found out his civilian identity. Stopping for a moment, Gu Wenyu looks over his shoulder while preparing his answer. Pointing to his own eye, he claims to have the ability to see the true face beneath any mask. Annoyed by the cryptic answer, the hero refuses to believe that absurd excuse. Charging with everything, Gu Kia prepares a lightning-charged punch promising to take the intruder down right there. The electric strike cuts the air while the MC dodges by jumping backward toward the black portal. Seeing his brother miss the target, the boy mocks his severe injuries and suggests he seek medical treatment first. Disappearing into the darkness, he cheerfully says goodbye, leaving the agent alone on the empty street. Strong lightning bolts begin to cross the sky, announcing an intense storm in the city. Under the heavy rain, the hero remains motionless, processing that bizarre encounter. The red stain drips silently through the fingers of his armor, revealing the severity of his wounds. Later that night, the storm punishes the Gu family's residential complex. Stepping on the wet floor of the balcony, the boy finally returns home after the mission. Entering the dark room, he reflects on how his brother's hero life is difficult and full of sacrifices. At that instant, the system confirms the success of the second phase of the quest focused on the association. Taking off his jacket, the youth admits that earning his relatives' total trust right off the bat would be impossible. But he celebrates the valuable point rewards he managed to gather by completing the first investigation. Sitting on the bed, he amuses himself imagining the possible nicknames the public will create for his secret identity. Opening his virtual interface, the boy analyzes his main character's general attribute screen. Observing the floating upgrade options, he feels like he is living inside a video game. Reflecting on combat, he concludes that investing in agility is the best choice to avoid instant game overs. With that in mind, the MC does not hesitate and allocates his available point directly into the speed attribute. Right after, the youth accesses the evolution panel focused on his combat skills. A massive holographic tree unfolds before him, displaying various magical paths to unlock. The virtual data glows brightly while the system processes the player's new request. Analyzing the power branches, he studies the possibilities the darkness can offer. Inspecting one of the techniques, the boy discovers a spell capable of working like a lie detector. He also evaluates the attack extension route, realizing this path would focus purely on destructive power. However, the youth concludes that right now he needs to focus on utility and tracking to survive the dangers. Spending his skill point, he chooses to learn the advanced detection technique using the dark straps. Imagining its practical application, he wonders if he will need to tie up the whole person or just a limb to activate the reading. Excited about the possibilities, the boy decides he will test the power's limits on the first unlucky enemy he finds. Next, his attention turns to the fascinating brand new Avatar Creation tab. The panel informs that the creation requires 3 division points, and he only has 1 saved in his inventory. With that, he plans to break into the orphanage in the future to get the points, using the avatars as a survival guarantee. Back at the lab, the boy wakes up startled by the loud sound of intense lightning tearing through the room's window. Completely surprised, he focuses his attention on a sudden detail catching his eye. A hand charged with blue electricity forces the entry door's knob. The door opens, revealing an imposing figure that invades the dark room. Staring into the darkness, the man observes the environment with a piercing look. Lying in bed, the boy sighs relieved, thinking he was just imagining dangerous things. With that, the sound system announces that the instructor is visiting Esper number 1002, Jaimingju, for an interrogation. Pulling up a chair, the man asks if the prisoner wants to hear about some superpowered folks that appeared outside. With a laid-back posture, the instructor calls the MC by his name, trying to sound friendly. Still on his back in bed, the youth just mumbles, feigning total disinterest. Hiding under the covers, he shoots a suspicious look at the unexpected visit. Stretching calmly, Jaimingju sits up in bed and says good evening to the instructor as if nothing happened. Noticing the boy's disposition, the man comments cheerfully before changing the course of the conversation. With an intimidating tone, the visitor questions how the prisoner knows it is night, being locked in there without a clock. Without losing his posture, the MC fires back that he just deduced it because of the man's annoying habit of interrupting his sleep. Offering fake apologies, the instructor puts his hand in his pocket, warning he just wants to ask a quick question. He then pulls out a photograph and shows the image of a dark figure in action in the outside world. Straight to the point, the man stares at the youth and questions if that individual in the photo is him. Observing the record, the boy instantly recognizes his own avatar acting outside. Trying to play it off, he plays dumb and asks what the name of this weird superpowered guy is. The man explains the outside world reached a consensus to give a temporary codename to the rookie. Adjusting his glasses, he reveals the name Black Pupa and claims to have remembered the boy as soon as he saw the image. Finding it funny, the MC suggests the man just call him ugly instead of making these absurd comparisons. Firing back at the joke, the visitor recalls the boy's bizarre past of wrapping himself in toilet paper at the orphanage. Tired of that story, Jaimingju guarantees that was just dumb kid stuff that proves nothing. Keeping the suspense, the man ignores the excuses and begins to explain the real reason for the suspicion. With a dark tone, the instructor reveals that someone predicted the future directly involving the boy. The prophecy points out that this prisoner will be the one responsible for destroying the whole world in the future. Thinking it is all a big joke, the youth bursts out laughing and mocks the ridiculous idea of him causing the apocalypse while locked up. Keeping the mysterious tone, the visitor just shrugs without ruling out the catastrophic possibility. With a sharp look, the boy demands to know who spread this rumor and asks to meet the prophet in person. The instructor denies the request immediately, stating it is impossible to set up that face-to-face meeting. The explanation is that they themselves have never seen this seer and have absolutely no clue what his identity is. Even so, he confides that all the great tragedies predicted by this mysterious figure have come true. Realizing the seriousness of the matter, the prisoner wonders if he really is destined to cause all that destruction. Changing the subject abruptly, the man warns that a girl named Kong Yuling will come visit him in 5 minutes. The MC throws himself to the edge of the bed, completely excited by the surprise news. Opening the door, the instructor warns he is going to leave them alone to talk freely without interruptions. Alone in the cell, the youth feels the nostalgia hit, remembering how long it has been since their last encounter. He then gets lost in old memories while his friend's image begins to form in his mind. The memory transports him back to the first time he saw her up close. It all started exactly 3 years ago, in a very different setting from that cold and isolated lab. Back then, little Jaimingju still lived trapped in the monotonous and problematic routine of his old home. The scene reveals itself as the old orphanage, where the boy used to cause trouble to chase away the boredom. A caretaker brought the new girl, an albino girl that the gossip said was completely deaf and mute. Because of the girl, everyone was forced to learn sign language, which caused a lot of resentment among the kids. Observing from afar, the youth noticed she preferred writing in a notebook so she would not bother anyone. Unlike the other orphans, he didn't care at all about the isolated girl's limitations. Being extremely hyperactive, the boy was always running through the halls and getting into trouble wherever he went. To him, the two were just huge weirdos living in their own world and ignored by normal people. Sitting on the roof at night, he finally gathered the courage to vent about his own painful past. Staring at the stars, the boy admitted how naive he was to believe his parents would come back for him. However, days turned into years and the promised rescue never actually happened. Accepting reality, he guaranteed he grew up and learned not to need anyone else besides himself. In silence, the albino girl listened carefully to every word of that very sincere venting. Holding back tears, the boy confessed she was the only person he wanted to spend the rest of his life with. Suddenly, a gentle touch on his shoulder pulls him out of his depressing thoughts. The girl shows her notebook with a simple message asking if she could really trust him. At that exact moment, the boy felt the overwhelming emotion of being important to someone for the first time. With his heart racing, happiness takes over the young orphan's face. He then promised with all his might that he would protect Kong Yuling from any danger from that day on. Her notebook gained a new scribbled page with the unbreakable promise that he would never abandon her. Back to the present, the bedroom door opens, revealing the girl standing at the entrance. The MC stands up excited and relieved to see his old friend is okay. With a tender look, the young girl hugs her notepad against her chest, showing the same longing. Without thinking twice, he takes a step forward, trying to get closer to his visitor. The instant he moves, a violent electric shock courses through his entire body. The boy screams in pain, while the collar on his neck severely punishes his attempt at contact. Falling to the floor in pain, he hears the security system announce that any physical touch is strictly forbidden. Desperate, Kong Yuling throws herself to the floor, wanting to help her hurt friend. Trembling, Jai Mingjiu raises his hand and assures her he is already used to these punitive shocks from the lab. Still gasping, he deduces the girl was only allowed in there with the intention of dragging information out of him. With a sad expression, she turns the page of the notebook, revealing the exact question demanded by the instructors. Staring at the message, the youth realizes the organization's cruelty in using his only friend as a spy. Sitting on the floor, he guarantees he has no clue what his power is, and knows that revealing it would cost both their lives. Holding her pen, Kong Yuling quickly writes in the notebook, confirming she understood the situation. Looking down, the girl remains in a sad silence for not being able to do anything to help. However, she turns the page of the pad, revealing a message saying she missed him a lot. Reading his friend's note, the boy feels his heart warm up and relaxes his tense posture. Suddenly, the instructor announces from above that time is up and orders the guards to take the girl away. The man guarantees they will be able to see each other in the future if he behaves, and asks if he now believes they didn't hurt her. Annoyed, the boy mocks their morals for keeping an 11-year-old girl locked up there acting like they are saints. Sitting calmly, the instructor admits the prisoner's mature attitude always makes him forget he is only 12 years old. Lying on his back, Jai Mingjiu takes the cue and asks if he can clear up a quick doubt. He questions the reason they don't just eliminate him right away, since they know about the end of the world, warning they might regret it if he loses control. Maintaining a mysterious tone, the man turns the question around, wanting to know if he really wishes to hear the truth. Without backing down an inch, the youth demands he speak up once and for all. The instructor explains that users on the brink of losing it can unleash an immense destructive power, which is the sole reason for not taking him out. Relaxing in bed, the MC laughs and celebrates the fact that he can sleep in peace, knowing he will not be secretly eliminated. Facing the boy's confidence, the visitor just lets out a murmur of pure mockery. Turning his back, the instructor ends the conversation right there and tells the prisoner to turn in early. Lying in bed, the boy remains in silence, processing everything he just heard. Far from there, night falls over the family's residential block in the outside world. A purple energy rift opens in the air, announcing the return of the main consciousness. With that, the system announces that the character's codename has been updated thanks to his rise in popularity. Standing on the roof, the MC discovers he is now publicly known as Black Pupa. Finding it amusing, he thinks it is pretty interesting they gave him a title in less than half a day. Observing the dark energy in his hand, the youth plans to focus on finding the lab to rescue his original body and his old friend. Staring at the city at dusk, he guarantees that if the plan goes south, he won't hesitate to act. Kong Yuling's image appears in his mind as the main reason to keep fighting. Consumed by a killer aura, the boy promises to crush anyone who gets in his way. Suddenly, a noise at the bedroom door completely breaks the room's silence. Getting a scare, he instantly realizes someone just got home. The door opens slowly, revealing a girl's silhouette holding a racket in the dark. Without wasting time, the newcomer turns on the light, illuminating the guest room. Hiding under the covers, the youth sighs, relieved for being fast enough not to be discovered. Right after, the girl enters the room, stepping firmly in her slippers. Peeking from below, the MC immediately recognizes his younger sister, Su Zimai. At that exact moment, the system creates a main quest demanding he investigate the youngest sibling's secret. Using the racket, the girl starts aggressively poking the lump on the bed. Sweating cold, the boy gets totally tense with that unexpected approach. Popping out of the covers fast, he tells her to stop and asks what she is doing. With a bossy attitude, Su Zimai mocks him for being so lazy and only waking up at night. Accessing the body's memories, the youth remembers his sister is in high school and always had that tired look. He also recalls her different last name comes from an old family tradition. Dropping the subject, the girl sighs and warns she has no patience to deal with him right now. Left totally confused, the MC finds that whole situation pretty weird. With that, the bedroom TV starts broadcasting exclusive footage of the hostage incident at the plaza. The news anchor explains how the mysterious rookie used black bands to immobilize the criminals. Grabbing a soda from the desk, Gu Wenyu listens to the reporter detail the bizarre crime scene. The news announces the rookie hero was named Black Pupa and classified as a rank B threat. Holding the can, the boy finds it interesting to discover there is a ranking system in this world. Taking advantage of the moment, he decides to use his new detection technique on his little sister before his brother arrives. The interface warns that he just needs to touch the human target with the darkness to read their full data. Without making a sound, a small ribbon of black energy starts to materialize behind the MC's back. The shadow creeps through the air, slowly approaching the girl distracted by her phone. Very carefully, the tip of the magical energy lightly touches her shoulder. Instantly, Suzumi widens her eyes, feeling a dangerous aura in the room. Completely surprised, the youth did not expect her reaction to be so fast and instinctive. The girl turns her head slowly and shoots her brother an extremely suspicious glare. Trying to hide his nerves, he offers her some soda as if nothing had happened. Finding it all very strange, the youngest sibling goes back to her phone, believing it was just her imagination. Taking a sip, the MC checks the interface and notices the main quest is still incomplete. Intrigued, he wonders if he needs to see her powers in action for the game to register the progress. Soon the stats sheet appears, revealing his sister is a powerful exorcist linked to a wax demon. He then remembers that in the character creation, there were 3 major superpowered races in the world. With this new information, the youth concludes the exorcists perfectly complete the puzzle. At that moment, Gukei enters the living room, surprised to see both siblings together in the same space. Showing off the grocery bags, the hero cheerfully announces he is cooking dinner tonight. With a friendly attitude, he tells the two to wait until the food is ready before heading out. Staring at the guy, the MC is impressed by his absurd regeneration after the last fight. Showing no emotion, the little sister ruins the mood by announcing their father is coming back home tonight. Gu Kea's cheerful expression vanishes instantly, giving way to a heavy silence. Hugging her pillow, the girl laments the fact that those two are definitely going to fight again. Ignoring the family drama, the boy focuses back on the system panel about the power hierarchy. The interface details the 5 threat categories used by the authorities to classify individuals. The harmless and standard levels represent the most common base of the organization's workers. Meanwhile, the dragon and boss categories form the true combat elite of the global association. To enter the special group, the user must absolutely reach the disaster level. Reading the final data, the youth is shocked to discover the dreaded restricted level has only one record in history. Deep in thought, the MC concludes the only restricted threat is already gone, so they couldn't be talking about him. Pacing around the room, he reflects that living locked in that lab was practically being gone anyway. Sitting on the bed, the boy figures that if he really is the restricted user, the researchers definitely belong to the association. With that, he starts brewing a new plan in his mind. Already in the living room with his siblings, the youth tries to figure out a way to drag this fake family into his problems. Watching the two from afar, he believes playing this identity right will make manipulating them much easier in the future. Staring at their late mother's photo, the boy notes their hatred for the criminal organization will make forging an alliance a breeze. With that, he evaluates that the people they can call for help will form an impressive combat force. Suddenly, Gukei breaks the silence and calls his younger brother's attention. Holding a kitchen knife, the hero asks in a dark tone if the boy stayed home all night. Hugging her pillow, the youngest agrees and points out he is acting very weird today. Caught off guard, the MC is startled by the double accusation. Sweating cold, he hopes he is not being found out and makes up that he fell asleep right after dinner. Still suspicious, the older brother wants to know if he didn't hear any weird noises during the night. However, the guy gives up pressing him and tells the boy to forget what he just asked. Being stared at intensely, the boy finds his sister's attitude strange and asks the reason for that look. Direct, the girl points out he is talking way too much for someone who usually lives locked in his room. Trying to deflect, he insults his sister for sleeping all afternoon while she threatens to leave. Prepping the food, the older one praises their interaction and asks the boy not to inherit their father's horrible temper. Chopping the meat with the knife, Gukei asks him to focus on how their mom took care of them and the good vibe they used to have. Drinking his soda, the MC decides to stay quiet, since at the orphanage he never learned how to act like a normal family. At that moment, the doorbell rings and the girl runs to answer the door. As soon as she opens it, Suzumi freezes instantly, completely surprised by who is standing there. Nervous, the girl plays with her hair and warns the hero that their dad just arrived. In the kitchen, the guy freezes immediately without saying a single word. Intrigued by the sudden tension, the youth looks curiously toward the entrance. A heavy aura and a threatening look emerge from the darkness of the hallway. The system then activates a quest, demanding the boy investigate that older man's secrets. Observing the newcomer, the MC confirms that this is the father of his new life. The patriarch named Gu Juan enters the room showing a firm and tired posture. Taking advantage of the siblings being tense and distracted, the boy spots the perfect chance to act. Discreetly, he summons his black energy and tries to touch his dad's shoulder from behind. However, the man notices the sneaky movement in the blink of an eye. A monstrous aura in the shape of a snake appears when the veteran violently grabs the boy's wrist. Caught red-handed, the MC is startled by the quick reaction. Reading the system warning about the ability activation, he concludes the patriarch is way more dangerous than the little sister. Stepping into the mess, the older brother grabs his dad's shoulder and demands to know what is going on there. Playing innocent, the youth stammers, making up that he just wanted to brush some dust off the older man's clothes. The man narrows his eyes, staring at the boy with deep suspicion. Right after, he lets go of his son's wrist and apologizes for the aggression. Justifying his attitude, the veteran explains that living on the edge for the past 2 years has left his nerves frayed. Stepping back, the MC tries to understand the bizarre sensation he felt through his dark magic. The man's energy felt like a giant snake that jumped on him and sank its fangs right into his heart. With the quest completed notification, the boy sighs relieved to have gotten the info without being exposed. The shock hits when the system tells him to forge an alliance with the dangerous supervillain Phantom Clock. Connecting the dots, the MC is shocked to discover that his own father is the feared supervillain Phantom Clock. In silence, he watches the mood turn heavy, while the hero and the villain stare each other down in the living room. The game's interface displays the veteran's dangerous stats, detailing his ability to create shadow clones. Remembering the past, the boy recalls the criminal used to complain about the enemy faction not coming after him. With that, he understands the man made himself a target on purpose to hunt down his wife's attackers with his own hands. The irony amuses the youth, since the brother took the opposite path, officially joining the Hero Association. Even chasing the same goal, father and son ended up on rival sides of the law by a pure twist of fate. Cutting the silence, Gu Kai tells the old man not to bring his bad habits into the house after disappearing for 2 years. Clenching his fist tightly, the guy accuses his dad of still being the same selfish guy who ignores his own kid's pain. Using the youngest as an example, the hero throws in his face the time she cried begging for her absent dad to return. Faced with the heavy accusations, the patriarch stays quiet, staring into space. Furious, the younger guy claims the old man only cares about the departed and says he never should have let him in. About to walk out, the man turns his face and fires back, asking about the guy. In a cold tone, the criminal questions if the preppy hero has already forgotten about his own lost mother. Hit right in his weak spot, the older brother widens his eyes, consumed by uncontrollable rage. Losing it, Gukia grabs his dad by the collar and tells him to shut his mouth immediately. Desperate, the little sister steps into the middle of the fight, while the hero yells that the old man has no idea how much he sacrificed. From the corner, the MC just watches the family drama without moving a muscle. Out of patience, the patriarch pushes his son away and demands the argument end right there. The impact knocks the guy back, who stares at his dad with a mix of shock and deep hurt. Taking a deep breath, the older man looks down, carrying an expression of extreme exhaustion. Keeping a cold posture, the boy keeps analyzing every reaction of that intense fight. Ignoring his kids, the veteran turns his back and walks toward the front door. The commotion is so big that Su Zimai uses the open door and runs out crying into the street. Staring at the empty hallway, the MC notices his little sister's sudden disappearance. Worried about her running off, the hero rushes outside, promising he will bring the girl back. Alone in the living room, the youth sighs, annoyed at having to witness all this unbearable family drama. Grabbing his phone from his pocket, he concludes the mess created the perfect opening to continue his plan. The night moves on silently, covering the Gu family residence after the chaos. Through the app, he sends an anonymous message asking if the hero has finally started suspecting his own father. Through the app, the hero asks directly who is the person behind that anonymous account. The MC replies with his black pupa codename, stating that should make some impression. Reading the text, Gu Ke instantly recognizes the mysterious rookie he met earlier. On the street next to a vending machine, the youth mocks the tracking attempt, warning the address would just lead to their own house. He agrees the father seems to be hiding something major and suggests spilling everything if their cooperation moves forward. With a serious expression, the hero decides to ask just one last question. Drinking his soda, the boy spits it all out instantly upon reading the guy ask if he is their actual father in disguise. Totally outraged, the MC cannot believe he treats the hero like a brother, but the dude thinks he is the old man of the family. Getting no answer about the absurd theory, the agent gets back on track and asks what the rookie wants. Keeping the mystery, the youth claims that is still a secret and just demands his relative know about the danger. Through the text, he warns that exposing his civilian identity turned the siblings into a huge weakness, but the hero hasn't realized that. The older guy agrees and accepts forming a temporary alliance, thus completing the system's objective. With that, the interface confirms the quest's success, updates the objective, and hands over the points needed to create a new avatar. Suddenly, Suzumai appears right behind her brother accompanied by a friend, wanting to know what worked out. Getting a huge scare, the boy plays it cool quickly and says their dad and older brother told him to look for her so they could head back. Turning her face, the girl refuses the call and announces she is sleeping over at her friend's place. Walking down the street together, the little sister comments the MC has changed a lot since he never cared about anyone before. Sitting on a park swing, she lets him know her friend is already arriving to pick her up. Finding the situation funny, the boy teases asking if the visit is her girlfriend, making his sister totally annoyed by the joke. Keeping his cool, he insists on knowing the true identity of this very mysterious person. At that moment, an elegant woman approaches the siblings introducing herself as the little sister's teacher. Arriving by surprise, the newcomer almost bumps into the MC and apologizes for the sudden scare. Pointing to the boy, the student introduces her older brother and tells the teacher to make herself at home. Greeting the woman politely, the youth figures she must be a mentor in the exorcism field. Exuding an intense aura, Kikiun introduces herself formally as the girl's friend and holds out her hand for a handshake. As soon as the MC shakes her hand, the system automatically activates the dark detection technique. Reading the generated data, he discovers the mentor possesses top-tier power among the local exorcists. However, comparing her to his own family's threats, the boy notes the woman's strength still lags way behind. Noticing the youth's analytical look, the teacher keeps a serious and mysterious posture. Changing her tone, the woman announces she is leaving the little sister with him, causing huge confusion for the girl who expected to run away from home. Walking back, the MC celebrates having completed the investigation into his sister's identity thanks to that handshake. Watching from afar, he concludes he will need to trail the woman later to understand the exact link to the family's father. Standing on the street, Kikiun finds the bizarre sensation she felt right when she greeted that boy super weird. Noticing her distraction, Suzumai breaks the silence and asks if something is wrong. Looking at her student, the commander admits her brother seems to be hiding something out of the ordinary. Caught off guard, the little sister does not understand the reason for that sudden suspicion. Feeling danger in the air, the woman tries to process the strange energy hovering around that family. Suddenly, terrifying movie and train demons materialize, suggesting that a test of strength will reveal the truth. The massive locomotive creature charges through the city streets blowing smoke and making a deafening noise. Telling the girl to hop on the creature, the commander hears her youngest student ask if she ended up falling for the MC. Curious about the question, the woman listens to the student explain she didn't seem to know about the older brother's power. Quickly changing the subject, the exorcist claims there is no need to butt into other families' business. Lighting a cigarette, she tells the girl to pack her bags to spend the whole summer break living with her. Already settled on the demon, the little sister jokes about the teacher's habit, warning her brother would never approve of this company. Crossing the night skies riding the ghost train, the two plan to pig out on Japanese food during the trip to Tokyo. Far from there, Guinea focuses all his attention on the virtual screen displaying his character's overall stats. Having saved up points, he decides to invest everything to boost his base physical strength and improve his performance in fights. Satisfied with the upgrade, the boy swipes his finger in the air and opens the holographic panel of his dark skill tree. Analyzing the available magic, he focuses on a secret technique capable of dragging the truth out of any captured person. He reflects that learning this is a solid investment to get the intel that will ensure his survival in this world. Spending the resource, the MC celebrates the new skill and plans to use this forced interrogation against the orphanage director. Accessing dark memories, he deduces the staff at that bizarre place definitely helped the scientists take the orphans away. With a look thirsty for payback, the youth promises to crush anyone who doesn't provide clear answers about this scheme. Right after, the system offers a magic camouflage capable of making him completely invisible by wrapping his body in the bands. He thinks the technique is perfect for investigating suspects up close, even while admitting that focusing purely on stealth leaves him fragile in a fight. The screen displays a powerful trap that inherits all the effects of previous skills to capture unsuspecting enemies. Wanting badly to unlock that magic, the boy regrets not having more points and notes the requirement to level up in the popularity system. Wrapping up his shopping, the MC realizes his time in the outside world is up, and the interrogation in prison is about to start. The system initiates full division mode, guaranteeing simultaneous control of the two bodies 24 hours a day. Back in the lab's white solitary cell, the instructor surprises the prisoner by revealing the plan to allow interactions with the orphans. Completely confused by the news, the MC repeats the info, wanting to understand the reason for this sudden change. Drinking his coffee calmly, the man suggests the isolated test subjects on that floor should build friendships. With a sharp look, the boy questions if the organization isn't afraid of a mass riot if they put superpowered kids in one place. The instructor smiles confidently, guaranteeing he has absolute control over all the prisoners in the facility. Lying relaxed on the bed, the youth blames his own amnesia and cashes in the promise about the stories of the special races. Confirming the deal, the visitor reveals the science team already suspects the true nature of the boy's dormant power. Caught off guard by the info, the boy's system reacts by activating intel gathering to improve future summons. The glowing screen displays the current development progress of each existential faction within that chaotic universe. Analyzing the collected data, he realizes holding off on creating the second avatar was the smartest decision to make. Willing to drag more crucial secrets out of that man, the prisoner chooses which story he wants to start the interrogation with. However, at the exact moment the boy opens his mouth to answer, something bizarre happens to his consciousness. A sharp and unbearable headache hits the MC with brutal and completely unexpected violence. Feeling his skull throb, he describes the terrible agony as if a metal nail was being hammered straight into his own brain. The system issues an overload warning stating that controlling two conscious bodies at the same time demands a lot from the mind. Panting and sweating cold, he mentally celebrates the fact that the punishment collar did not detect the direct use of superpowers during the crisis. Noticing the boy looking a bit woozy, the instructor quickly asks what is wrong. Playing it off, the MC blames lack of sleep and asks to hear about the anomaly envoys. The man takes a brief silent pause. Right after, he agrees to tell the story. Shaking a cocktail shaker, the visitor starts narrating like it was a fairy tale about a magic whale. Annoyed by the childish tone, Jai Mingju tells the guy to stop treating him like a baby. Without complaining, the man decides to change his approach. Adopting a serious posture, the instructor explains these anomalies don't live in cities, but hidden inside the belly of a giant whale. Apparently, the size of this creature is so absurd that it houses an entire world inside it. This bizarre place houses huge cities, luxurious palaces, and the very royalty of these mysterious entities. Having no patience for housing details, the youth interrupts, wanting to know straight up what the real abilities of these beings are. The man then reveals they awaken at a certain age, gaining a compendium capable of tracking secret realms. Inside these places lie the anomaly fragments, and whoever manages to master them absorbs that power into their own fighting style. Totally curious about the explanation, the boy wants to better understand what these fragments actually are in practice. The visitor details that these items are kept in the compendium and are divided into 4 power categories, going from ordinary up to mythic tier. The mythic category is the most absurd, containing extremely rare fragments of ancient gods like Zeus and Hades. With that, the prisoner asks about the category right below that one. The instructor uses examples like the Titanic and Santa Claus to illustrate the epic tier, guaranteeing that the strongest current envoys use that power. He even guarantees that if someone gets a mythic fragment, they would be able to wipe a whole country off the map without much effort. With that, the system confirms a huge increase in world progress, making the boy realize the story is totally real. Using his own hands to illustrate, the prisoner jokes that those guys seem way more dangerous than him. Sighing deeply, the man points out the brutal difference between being able to destroy a country and having the capacity to wipe out the whole world. Facing the situation, the MC understands he took on the role of the ultimate calamity in this story. Changing the subject, the instructor asks him to understand the organization is only there to help. Lying relaxed on the bed, the youth throws the bait, wanting to know exactly who this mysterious group is. With a serious tone, the visitor states that still needs to be kept an absolute secret. Straight to the point, Jai Mingju asks if they are part of the Anomaly Association. Turning his back, the man denies it and guarantees their work is much more noble and dangerous than any of those known factions. Recognizing the roadblock, the MC concludes trying to pull the organization's name out directly is not going to work. Trying to break the ice, the instructor suggests they change the subject and start talking about the exorcists. However, the sound system announces another disaster-level prisoner requested the man's presence right away. The boy is impressed by the amount of freaks locked up in that place and regrets losing the chance to investigate the exorcists. Grabbing his things, the visitor warns he needs to handle this issue now, but promises to finish the talk some other time. Alone again, the MC concludes his investigative prep work finally paid off. Through the system, he finds out that learning about the exorcists boosted his chances of summoning a genuinely strong character. Determined to push forward, the boy spends his points and enters the digital space to roll a magic system die. The game asks him to guess the result, and the youth bets on number 6 with total confidence. With luck on his side, the die lands exactly on the chosen number, yielding an extra profile option as a reward. The digital interface loads glowing and demands he pick one of the 3 generated identities for the real world. The first profile reveals a girl seeking payback with pretty average stats on the spec sheet. Analyzing the dramatic backstory, the boy turns down the option instantly, finding it way too weird to take on a female identity full of trauma. Right after, the second profile shows an anomaly envoy, but the starting attributes are way too weak to be useful. At that exact moment, a huge danger warning pops up on screen, catching the MC off guard. The system flashes intense red lights, indicating the next action carries an extremely high risk. The message warns that splitting his consciousness into 3 simultaneous bodies is going to cause extreme mental pain and a deep tear in his sanity. Ignoring the danger, the youth mocks the pain, stating he will do whatever it takes to get his original body out of that captivity breathing. Taken over by an unshakable resolve, his eyes shine with a quiet fury. Standing in the tech void, he braces himself to face the worst pain of his life in the name of freedom. Hopeful, the boy moves on to the third option, praying the stats are not absolute garbage. The surprise hits when the system announces a rare character from the Exorcist class, precisely the one he knows least about right now. The data blocks merge, revealing the detailed sheet of the third option. The profile displays a man named Xia Pingzhu, holder of solid stats and bearer of a dark contract with a demon. Analyzing the virtual projection, the MC is completely intrigued by the capabilities of this new life. The flaming magic scroll confirms the dangerous demonic pact made by that warrior in the past. Satisfied with what he read, the boy selects this identity to be his new body in the game. Among the available quests, he picks the Wild Hunt route simply because he thought the name sounded much more badass. The interface begins materializing that man straight into the real world to kick off the new journey. The landing alert confirms the entry zone will be the metropolis of Tokyo. A countdown ends, revealing the sunrise over the massive Japanese skyscrapers. Standing with his back turned, the mysterious man watches the famous illuminated tower downtown. With that, the system kicks off the brutal download of the new body's memories straight into the player's mind. Grabbing his own face, he complains about the same unbearable headache invading his mind all at once. The past reveals that Xia Pingzhu retired after watching his own team get wiped out by a traitorous colleague. The trauma got worse when his family was brutally taken out, turning payback into his sole life goal. Investigations exposed the involvement of a dangerous criminal gang, making the man set up a meeting with their leader. Now in control, the MC flashes a sinister smile and celebrates getting another perfect script of hatred and chaos. Walking down the street, he accesses the details of his new power source based on a mystical board. The arsenal consists of 4 chess pieces capable of summoning actual units that faithfully obey his commands. The system explains exorcists fight by fusing demons directly into their vital weapons through a dark pact. Luckily for the boy, this new identity's energy recorded an incredibly rare and devastating power in the past. Checking his own hands, he concludes this damage-focused style perfectly makes up for his other avatar's weakness. Determined to test the limits, he opens the floating interface to check the paths on the new skill tree. The screen projects several complex branches, proving that body's growth potential is huge. Walking past the power poles, the man thinks it is awesome to focus on a class entirely based on demonic summoning. Suddenly, the phone in his pocket rings, notifying the arrival of a new important text. The screen shows the coordinates for an underground bar, confirming the gang accepted the meeting request. With a deadly look, the Avenger realizes he will finally come face to face with the attackers who ruined that body's life. Staring at the clear morning sky, he tells himself it is time to begin the real hunt. Standing at the bar's door, Xia Pingzhu finds it weird those people are still drinking and partying hard first thing in the morning. Assessing his target, he knows inside that private room are the ranked targets of the White Crow Brigade. Holding the doorknob, the MC hopes he doesn't bite the dust too quickly and end up back in that restricted state at the lab. Without wasting time, the Avenger turns the lock on the wooden door. However, the man gets a sudden scare with what he finds on the other side. The door opens, revealing an elegant woman wearing a traditional red kimono. Staring at the stranger, Xia Pingzhu sizes up the situation in the dimly lit hallway. With a sharp look, the mysterious woman watches the newcomer in silence. Soon, the MC introduces himself directly as the rookie sent by the brigade. With a calm voice, the woman politely asks if the newcomer is a guest of the group. Walking into the room, she announces the commander got interested in his skills and sent them to test number 12's replacement. Sitting on the couch, a blond man named Anlance suggests they introduce themselves first and reveals he is number 11 of the faction. In the dark corner, Robert introduces himself as number 7 and tells the rookie he can call him by the nickname Radish Head. Meanwhile, the woman in the kimono stays completely silent without saying her own name. Suddenly, she summons an intense red magic energy that lights up the whole room. The magic tears through the air, manipulating a deck of cards with extreme violence. Moving her hands, the woman controls the sharp pieces of paper as if they were deadly blades. Keeping his cool, Xia Pingzhu deduces her power and reinforces, he just came to fill the vacant spot on the team. Getting off the couch, Anlance announces it is time for everyone to start moving. Throwing his cards on the table, the blonde guy reminds them they still have to take care of a little problem on the way. Walking to the exit, he explains the boss ordered them to eliminate everyone in the bar so they won't mess up the auction raid next week. With that, the MC concludes the initiation test is simply taking everyone out in that place. Summoning a floating slot machine, Anlance guarantees the cleanup will just be a quick warm-up. Staring at the bizarre machine, the Avenger tries to figure out what the effect of that weird ability would be. Pulling the robot's lever, the blonde tells him to chill and decides to test his luck to try and save the group some effort. The machine's reels spin fast until they land on a combination of 3 red missiles. Looking at the result, Anlance admits with a smile that he rolled something a bit too flashy. With that, Robert activates his magic and tells the rookie to get out of there right now. Impressed, Xia Pingzhu realizes Radish Head possesses a rare teleportation skill. Stepping into a pixelated portal, the team warns the whole bar is going to blow up if they don't leave immediately. Pulling the rookie by the shoulder, Anlance cheerfully says they are taking him somewhere much more fun. Totally confused, Xia Pingzhu remembers the original plan and asks if they weren't going to clear the bar first. Finding the question funny, the blonde fires back asking what his colleague is talking about. Popping up on the roof of a distant building, Anlance guarantees all those people are already gone. Far from there, the little machine silently floats right outside the bar's window. Suddenly, the robot starts to glow, emitting a blinding golden energy. The metal structure completely takes itself apart in midair, scattering gears everywhere. The pieces snap together fast and form a gigantic rocket pointing straight at the target. Watching the scene from afar, the MC finally understands the true nature of that destructive power. A colossal explosion swallows the whole building, confirming that absolutely no one made it out of that surprise attack. The shockwave sweeps the street, destroying everything around in a literal inferno of flames. Cold toward the chaos, the Avenger just asks what the group's next step will be. Standing in front of an abandoned commercial building, he questions the reason they ended up in that deserted place. Anlance calmly explains they are at an old office building in the Minato district. According to the history, the place was shut down by authorities after several employees passed away from exhaustion due to overworking. Feeling a heavy corporate slave vibe in the air, Xia Pingzhu wants to know the real goal of that bizarre test. With a confident smile, Anlance states dealing with this kind of stuff is the exorcist's specialty. Surprised, the MC focuses his eyes on a dark creature emerging right behind the blonde guy. The veteran explains the 3 of them are just going to watch from a distance, while the monster beats the rookie up to evaluate his performance. Making a hand sign, he warns that if the majority fails his fight, his entry into the brigade will be instantly cancelled. On top of the rejection, the blonde makes it very clear they will execute the kid right there without thinking twice. Facing the threat, the Avenger realizes his first big opponent has finally shown up. The system interface demands he pass the faction's test, making it clear there is no other choice but to fight. Cracking his neck enthusiastically, Xia Pingzhu accepts the challenge and gets ready for the imminent showdown. Twitching bizarrely, the mass of cursed energy cries desperately begging for some time off. The bubble morphs into a muscular 3-headed monster holding a giant keyboard and a coffee, yelling about work performance. Motionless in the empty hall, the MC stares down the bizarre corporate freak ready to attack. Anlance comments the monster was born from the pure resentment built up by the employees who lost their lives working in that building. However, the kimono woman busts the lie, and the blonde admits he made up the tragic backstory just because he thought it sounded cool. With a sweat drop on his face, the rookie finds the creature 0% scary, feeling only a deep sadness coming from that monster. Analyzing the freak, the MC thinks it is tragic an employee worked himself to the grave and still became an ex-farming monster. Summoning his core magic, he materializes a glowing chess piece floating right over his hand. The demon charges furiously and tries to crush the boy with the giant keyboard demanding a raise. Holding the glowing pawn, the Avenger taps into the body's memories to grasp how that power works in practice. In a brutal strike, the creature brings the makeshift weapon down with full force against the stationary target. The impact kicks up a thick cloud of dust and shrapnel across the abandoned hall's floor. Right after the hit, the three-headed monster freezes its movement, completely confused. Smiling calmly, Xia Pingzhu blocks the heavy attack without needing to take a single step back. The magic piece turns into a massive ghostly king that projects an absolute shield around its master. Watching from afar, Anlunce cracks a smile and praises the rookie's fascinating defensive tech. With her stiff posture, the kimono woman admits she has never seen magic like that before. Radish Head agrees the skill is peculiar and justifies the commander's interest. Furious at the block, the demon raises its arms again and goes back to yelling about working overtime. The freak unleashes an insane barrage of crushing blows, trying to break the magic barrier at all costs. Untouched in the middle of the bombardment, the MC just sighs, confirming the enemy's effort is completely useless. Observing the impenetrable defense from afar, Anlunce praises the technique and admits the rookie's skill is pretty good. Totally furious, the corporate freak keeps yelling for overtime right in front of the magic barrier. Hoisting a giant stamp, the monstrous demon readies another brutal attack. The heavy blow comes down, tearing through the air straight toward Xia Pingzhu's spot. Focused, the MC understands he needs to protect his main piece no matter what, and immediately summons a pawn. An intense dark aura materializes the new soldier on the battlefield to defend its master. The pawn displays an intimidating stance, wielding a heavy sword and wearing dark armor. Screaming non-stop, the monster attacks again, but the shadow soldier blocks the impact easily using its blade. With the hit, a shockwave sweeps the room while the two creatures test their strength in the center of the hall. The freak forces the desperate strike, while the shadow soldier holds the impenetrable defense. The clash between forces triggers violent tremors that wreck the floor around them. Analyzing the trade of blows, Xia Pingzhu concludes the tactical value of that basic unit is incredibly high. Seizing the opening, he materializes a rook piece that takes the form of a floating energy cannon. Without hesitating, the weapon fires a devastating blast of light toward the enemy. The fulminating beam swallows the freak whole, leaving absolutely no chance to dodge. The explosion lights up the entire hall while the Avenger just watches the damage done. Severely hurt by the attack, the demon staggers, smoking, and groans in pain. Figuring he has played around enough, the MC grabs another glowing piece and decides to end the fight. The power summons the majestic Magic Queen, equipped with an elegant spear and ready for combat. In the blink of an eye, the warrior charges at high speed toward the weakened target. Desperate, the monster tries a heavy punch demanding good work performance. But the queen dodges the strike gracefully, spinning her spear in an agile move. The freak insists on the offensive, letting out yells of indignation about the overtime hours. With a lethal counterattack, the warrior lands a fast and precise strike. The spear pierces the demon's body over and over, tearing the creature apart without mercy. Consumed by the magic, the freak disintegrates in the air and vanishes completely. Watching the result, Xia Pingzhu finds it weird that his strongest unit acts like a squishy assassin focused on burst damage. Sighing, he turns to the veterans and asks if he is finally qualified to join the group. Anlunce votes yes, thinking the magic is super fun, immediately backed up by his assassin colleague. Robert grumbles that the rookie is still weak and will probably bite the dust soon, but ends up accepting his entry anyway. The cyborg veteran reminds him they also have the option to just deny his admission into the brigade. Finding the situation funny, Anlunce points out the consequence of a rejection would be the kid's end. The teammate agrees, reminding them the commander ordered a direct execution in case they weren't satisfied. Sweating cold, the MC realizes the insanity of that squad and hopes he won't have to fight everyone there. Laughing at the situation, Anlunce tells his peers to stop scaring the rookie and makes his approval into the faction official. Shifting focus, the mysterious assassin holds out her hand and announces the leader sent a special gift for him. Surprised by the news, the youth asks what kind of reward that would be. In a smooth move, the woman conjures magical energy, confirming the delivery. An imposing black crow appears out of nowhere and aggressively lands on the Avenger's arm. Showing off her own mark, she explains that is the brigade's emblem and tells him to pick a spot on his body. Suggesting the back of his hand, the rookie watches the mystic bird melt and fuse directly into his skin. The magic seal gives off a bright golden glow while permanently locking onto the new member. Welcoming number 12, Anlunce advises caution since the other members are way more stressed out. The MC simply nods in silence, processing the dangerous heads-up. Deep in thought, he evaluates the auction heist will be a breeze and plans to just follow the team without drawing attention. Checking the time, Anlunce suggests the trio go grab a bite before the official mission really kicks off. Excited by the idea, his colleague confesses she is starving and suggests using the portal she left near a restaurant. Noticing the rookie zoning out, the veteran grabs his attention and asks what he is staring at so intently. Robert rushes the group, and they all get ready to walk through the glowing path created by their partner. Walking slowly, Xia Pingzhu focuses his attention on his new character's exclusive progression system. The floating screen reveals that hunting freaks will grant valuable rewards to boost his strength. Satisfied, the MC thinks the task is a piece of cake, since his new coworkers are a bunch of violent lunatics. The digital interface loads his base stats, confirming that identity's massive growth potential. To him, upgrading the sheet will be simple, focusing entirely on agility and spirit, since the body itself doesn't attack directly. Suddenly, the boy freezes upon hearing footsteps echoing right behind him in the dark hallway. Glancing over his shoulder carefully, he sparks Anlance's curiosity about what might be going on. A female voice comments her group came to investigate the demonic presence in the area. Acting chill, the newcomer notes someone already did the cleanup job for them. Right beside her, Su Zimai asks if the bunch of criminals is part of the local exorcist association. Completely shell-shocked, the rookie spots his youngest sister backed up by her teacher standing right there in front of him. Analyzing the intruders, Robert comments it looks like the building got more unexpected guests. With a cold and deadly posture, the allied assassin asks point-blank if she should take out the two trespassers. Shrugging, Anlance agrees with the wipeout and says it is a shame they saw the criminal squad's faces. Tense with the situation, the MC remembers his other identity already had direct contact with Ki Kurui. He knows full well the commander is famous in the association, and a direct clash right there would be an absolute disaster. Sweating bullets, the youth realizes his little sister's fall would completely wreck his main body's quest. Walking past his peers, he concludes he needs to figure out a way for the two to run off without raising suspicion. Consumed by bloodlust, the brigade assassin repeats the lethal order demanding an immediate strike. Wrapped in a red aura, she darts furiously down the hall wanting to finish this fast so she can go eat. Spotting the enemy's intention, the teacher shields her student and braces herself to take the violent hit. Acting fast, Xia Pingzhu cuts off his colleague and questions if the team knows the invading woman's reputation. Intrigued by Ki Kurui's gear, Anlance remembers the brigade leader already tried recruiting that veteran. Hiding his relief, the Avenger asks what her answer was, hearing the invite was brutally shot down. The veteran explains the woman preferred to build her own squad based on the trained demon she made a contract with. Stopping her charge abruptly, the partner loses her patience with the small talk and demands to know if she is going to attack them or not. Taking control of the situation, the leader's robotic voice echoes through the comms telling them not to cause trouble. The boss guarantees starting a war right there wouldn't bring any benefit. Agreeing without missing a beat, Anlance tells the group to get going and focus on eating. Behind them, Su Zimai stammers something completely confused by the sudden retreat. Faking excitement, Xia Pingzhu suggests he would love to test his skills by fighting that woman to throw off his peers' attention. But Anlance interrupts the rookie, warning that picking a fight now would cause a huge scene. The veteran demands he keep quiet so he doesn't tick off the commander. Accepting the order, the Avenger nods while his partner mentions the auction raid happening next week. Mentally, the boy confirms that will be the day of the operation. With a portal opening up, the squad gets ready to leave. Anlance explains the leader usually hands out the exact details just 5 minutes before the strike starts. Before vanishing into the magic rift, the kimono woman warns she can only help them up to that point. The MC watches the group leave without a hitch. Intrigued, the rookie asks if they always act this casually. The blonde guarantees anyone without that level of execution would have already bitten the dust several times in the brigade. Alone again, the Avenger ponders his sister's presence in Tokyo. He fears he won't be able to save the youngest if she decides to sneak into the dangerous auction. Far from there, Ki Kian lights a cigarette trying to process what just happened. The flick of the lighter shatters the heavy silence of the empty hall. The teacher finds it bizarre the enemy squad just walked away. Curious, Su Zimai asks what is the real deal with those people who gave off such a deadly aura. Blowing smoke, the mentor reveals the kimono girl used to be an heir to a noble Japanese family, before dropping everything to join the dreaded brigade. Utterly shocked, the little sister deduces those criminals were just about to finish them off a minute ago. The mentor confirms the suspicion, admitting the enemy's colossal strength. With a tense look, Ki Kian notes the association's fears were legit. Facing the imminent danger, she wonders if there is still time to bail on the team. Terrified by the revelation, Su Zimai gulps and questions her partner. The girl wants to know if they really should stick with the mission to guard the event. With a sly smile, the mentor claims it would be a shame to walk away now. She decides to report the encounter to the association so they can beef up the auction's defenses immediately. Sighing, she mocks the local strength, guaranteeing the exorcists in Japan are way too weak and aren't even worth calling into battle. Deep in thought, Suzumi agrees with her teacher's take. However, the youngest points out the association might very well request heavy hitters from neighboring countries. Adjusting her glasses, Kiki-un flashes a mysterious smile thinking about the possibilities. She agrees with her student and decides to drop a prime example. The imposing Tokyo Tower illustrates the exorcist's suggestion. Point blank, she names the hero Blue Bow as the perfect candidate to be drafted. Later that night, the neon sign of a ramen joint glows on a busy Tokyo street. Handing over a piece of paper, the kimono woman gives the rookie the contacts of the other brigade members so he can call them later. Satisfied, Anlunce wraps up the hangout right there and dismisses the team. The blonde says a cheerful goodbye while walking away with his peers. Holding the paper, Xia Pingzhu figures the gang might draw out the rival organization Green Wings. He plans to snag intel from them to bargain with his hero brother. Stuffing his hands in his pockets, the MC strolls down a dark alley. He decides to find a random hotel to crash his new identity at temporarily. Already in the early hours, the facade of a modest apartment building is lit up by the city lights. Sitting on the bed, the boy opens the system interface to check his options. The screen shows the magic branches available for that avatar. Scanning the skills, he quickly concludes the first route is the most useful. Without hesitating, the Avenger spends a point to learn the pawn recruitment technique. Instantly, the system confirms the upgrade of the defense-focused magic. The interface notifies that the player's peace limit has just been bumped up to 2 units. Lying back relaxed with his hands behind his head, Xia Pingzhu celebrates the new upgrade. With 2 fresh soldiers on standby, he admits he feels like a seriously protected king. Going back to the panel, the MC spots the insane rewards for the auction quest. He is startled by the points offered and deduces surviving the event is going to be incredibly tough. Narrowing his eyes, he focuses on the side quest targeting a guy named Jack. Right after, the interface pulls up the details for the third main task. Memories flood his mind, showing the day his teammate totally lost it. The ally turned into a brutal monster and crushed his other peers without mercy. The past reveals the traitor used to leave a red magic circle drawn on the floor. The eerie mark always came paired with the name Salvation Society. Lying in the dark, the youth finds this criminal group pretty intimidating. Not having much else to do, he decides to let this body rest until the brigade rings him up. Using the exorcist as a safety net, the boy plans to use his other identity to break into the old orphanage and drag info out of the director. At that moment, the consciousness swap kicks in, and a mystic blue eye opens on the system screen. Miles away, Gu Wenyu wakes up in his own bed while the game confirms his sister's quest is complete. The interface updates the goal, asking for an alliance with the exorcists. Sitting up in bed, the youth thinks it is awesome using one avatar's moves to check off the other's quests. He admits he planned to tail his sister physically, but fate stepped in. Focused on getting stronger, he dumps all the new stats into his speed. Plus, the boy decides to blow his resource to learn the binding strap suppression. The screen reveals the magic lets him temporarily swipe the ability of whoever gets tied up. Hyped, the MC kicks himself for not unlocking this power sooner. Right after, the system notifies that rolling a third character is going to cost 9 points. Finding the price insane, he jokes if the game is worried he is going to develop schizophrenia. Suddenly, a map pops up showing the events in Lijiang City have been unlocked. The game directs the user to head over to the exclamation mark to kick off a task. Hand on his chin, the boy finds the quests popping up around the map fascinating. He smiles excitedly, feeling like his new life is straight out of a video game. However, upon checking the spot more carefully, Gu Wenyu's expression takes a sharp turn. Completely shocked, he instantly recognizes the exact location of the mission. The front of an old building under the starry sky reveals the destination marked by the system. The MC recognizes the structure and realizes the event is going down at the old library. Walking down the dark stairs, he remembers the library was his favorite hangout as a kid. But ironically, that was where a mysterious basement locked up with padlocks was located. Staring at the heavy door in his memories, the youth recalls the day the director caught him there and grounded him, making up a story that the place was an abandoned war bunker. Sick of the old lies, Gu Wenyu grabs his own face while a terrifying theory takes shape. Sweating cold, he questions himself about a grim possibility. Standing in the middle of the night, the boy's eyes widen, consumed by an unsettling epiphany. He deduces the cruel lab was always hiding down in the orphanage's basement.